earlier last week, when I was playing in online, someone said that I have really high polygonal pillows on my tutorials. I'm not sure what he was talking about, I guess the couches, but he did give me the brilliant idea that I should really model pillows. Because why not? We have this lovely floor that's not cluttered with anything. And I figured that I'm going to dedicate this tutorial to show you guys. This will be more like a revisiting of most of the tools we used before to model a pillow. As always, start a new world to use as it's just easier to make assets that way. Alright, so here's our new world, and since we're making human-sized furniture, let's add a reference player model again. In this I'm going to use CSM. Player models, CSM, and wait for it to load, and add one. Now there is a very neat little tool that I think I should take some time to mention, and that tool is called the Databoard. And what this does is pretty much allow you to create a sort of a preset template of any selection with any properties set to it, and easily access it from any other level. So for example, like I have CSM here, I can name it CSM, give it a idle animation, actually can't find where that is, because I'm taking this, there we go, 01, or maybe to just go, there we go. And now I have this set with these two settings, and I can also remove the mechanism, and well, this is pretty much all the things I need to do. And I can now drag and drop this into my Databoard, holding down Ctrl Alt and Shift, and as you can see it shows up here with the, let's say, presets. So now any level that I open, for example my room, I can drag and drop that entity, and if I open any other map I can do that too. And this works with entire selections. I mean, I can drag and drop this entire map in here. So I just selected it, and I just dragged and dropped it as 15 entities, and I can rename this to tutorial room. And now any new world I create, I can just drag and drop this here. So this is very useful. You can create little snippets of selections and reuse them in different levels. Now, in previous ages, the Databoard used to crash, so I'm not really sure if it still does that. For simple stuff like CSM, it should work fine, but for entire selections, I'm not really sure, but I think it works pretty well now. You can even create folders and rename them if you make a mistake, and move your stuff there somehow. But this is actually the first time. And move your models and stuff in the folder. But don't mode select them, because then it's going to merge them. As you can probably notice, this is probably the first time I'm using the Databoard, because I used to really avoid it. But lately I've noticed that when I was testing it earlier, that it does seem to work. So there we go. Anyhow, I also want to mention a few more things about the Databoard, that this thing seems to work for pretty much any type of data container. So it also allows me to paste from my clipboard. So instead of dragging and dropping, I can just copy paste this and then paste it from my clipboard. And I can also do this for other stuff. Like for example, if I have a shader or material preset for some model, let me just open back a model of some sort. Where did I save that furniture? Can't find it. Alright, hold just a second. Actually, I'm just going to go into my other map and demonstrate from here. Anyhow, I have a default material, which is my fabric, set for this model. I can actually copy this, Ctrl and C, and then paste it in the clipboard. And this will actually work. So if I create another model, for example, in our new world, insert a model, create a box, drop it. I can now somehow apply this to my shader preset. Probably I can just copy paste it on the Databoard, select it, copy it, and then paste it in my settings. Yeah, this works. So yeah, the Databoard works for anything: materials, models, sound presets, particle presets, anything you can copy, you can put in there, which is also new news to me. I didn't actually know that this thing was so versatile. So I can create a materials folder and drag and drop my fabric 01 material there. And you can drag and drop stuff by just holding down your left mouse button on them and then moving them. Like so. Okay, this was a lot of time spent on the Databoard, but as you can see, this is a very powerful tool if it doesn't crash, I mean. Anyhow, back to whatever we were doing. Let's create a simple model, place it in the center of the world, and enter the mesh 8 mode. Now I'm simply going to create a box. Doesn't really matter what dimensions I put for it, because all I want to do is take one vertex from it, select all but one, delete them, and now I have this little vertex here that I'm going to position in the center of the world. And I'm going to use it to create the outline of my pillow, which, judging from Sam's head, is going to be somewhere like so. Now I'm using Shift and Q to extrude a vertex, and now create a face for the final pillow, for the final edge, something like this. Now I don't really like this outline, so I'm going to recreate it. Select all my vertices, delete them, and I'm going to redo it. Going to create a sort of indentation in the middle, extrude, again create edges, again extrude, create another edge, and then finally merge my vertices. And now I'm not using the mirror tool because it would be more tedious to try and make this modular, and for me it's going to be easier to just create the mesh outline for the pillow instead of creating a sort of a modular 1/4 section of a pillow. But I am going to mirror the entire thing for the bottom of it once I'm done with creating the outlines. So now I'm just creating think of these like topological lines. You know, if you've seen those geographical maps where they have those lines indicating height, this is no different. I'm using the similar method to create the outline or hull of the mesh. So I'm just going to repeat that because I don't think I explained it very well. I'm just sort of defining the hull of the mesh using horizontal lines that I'm eventually going to connect together, like I showed you guys in the previous tutorial when I was creating the edges for the bevel, the rounded corner for the table. And now as a center, because I want to give this an indentation, actually I'm going to move this entire edge a bit down. And I'm just gonna copy paste this, and after a bit of thought, going to want to create sort of a indented look on the pillow. So I'm not really sure how to do that, but let's just going to connect those as triangles, or actually better not. I'm just going to create smaller and smaller versions of the same outline. And there we go. Now I'm just going to create polygons. remember counterclockwise, create a polygon facing the camera. And then I'm just going to speed this up right now, because I'm not going to record myself creating several kind of polygons. So I'm going to see you up ahead. And there we go. Our dirty little mesh is now complete. And I use that term mostly because usually I don't do pillows like this, or I don't usually proceed when making models, by using extrusion to create an outline. Usually I'd make a box and then simply use edge loops to control my edges, and that simply gives me a way more cleaner looking mesh. But I decided to go this way because I get to show you guys more tools this way at the expense of having a less professional looking mesh. So usually I don't do this like this, and I felt as if I should clarify that. I'm only doing it this way to show you guys how to use various tools and what they do. Now I'm just going to use the knife tool to create triangles for the edges so that I can smooth them and give the pillow a smoother look, moving them inwards a bit. Like so. And now that I have the pillow, I'm going to mirror it for the bottom side to complete the pillow hole. Now there is a little problem I need to address. When you mirror, your polygons aren't welded, so if I move these polygons upwards, these polygons remain as separate entities. And this also shows if I add a new shader preset, add a shader material. And even though I can set the smoothing angle to 120, the smoothing, you're always going to get an edge over here. And to fix that, there is an easy way. You just have to weld the two vertices that the polygons share, so that they aren't no longer separate entities, but rather just this polygon ends and the other one starts, and they both use the same vertex. And the shortcut or key for that is the W key, and you can also find it under maps, weld. So now just select all of them one by one and weld them. Like so. Not sure if I already went through this, no. If you select more vertices than you want, like so, it's going to merge all of them. So that keep an eye on the vertices you select. So if I go to my shader view again, you're going to see that the pillow now looks really smooth because I merged my vertex maps. Okay, now to get back to detailing the pillow a bit more. Now this also gives me the opportunity to talk about levels of detail, because this is a good because the pillow looks good from a distance, like this, it looks like a pillow, but if I get close, the simplicity of the mesh really starts to show. And to fix that, I can create a second mesh that will only show when the player is closer. And this, you can also see this on for example, on Sam. You see you have the second LOD over here, and you can see the mesh simplifying when I switch from the different levels of detail. So for example, the face, the first level of detail has all these squads and polygons, but the second one, as you can see, the eyebrow here gets really simplified, the cheeks, the intercom communication units, and the glasses all get simpler meshes, but you can't really notice that when you view it from afar. And this also saves performance, so it's a really good way to do it like that. And it's no different for the pillow. I'm just going to select my mesh and copy paste it in my second level of detail. And I can control the level of detail by using my keyboard keys 1, 2, 3 all the way to 0, or simply clicking on these boxes down here. Now that I have the pillow here, I'm going to get back to my first level of detail and modify this a bit. Now what I want to do is simply split all of my polygons into quads, so that I have 4 polygons for one, and then simply smooth my pillow. So the shortcut to split the polygons is the Shift and D, and as you can see, if I select the polygon, it splits it into equal groups inside the polygon. And you can also find it under Add or Create. Only Add. It's called Split Polygons. Oh, it's called Subdivide. Shift and D. Now there is a limitation to the subdivision tool. It only works on triangles or quads. So if you notice that my polygons down here, these aren't quads, nor triangles, because they have more than 4 vertices, and the subdivision tool won't work on these. To fix this, you can use the triple polygons tool to simply create triangles, which the subdivision tool can easily subdivide. So I'm just going to select the edges here, and then just triple them. Select the entire mesh and subdivide it. Now this isn't a clean mesh that looks terrible, but for the tutorial it's going to do the job. I mean, eventually you're going to have to learn how to draw cleaner meshes, and I'm probably going to do a separate tutorial on that as well. But for now, don't worry about that sort of thing. Just try to keep your poly count. As you can see, if I select all my polygons, you can see here I have a 630 polygons for the entire model. Try to keep your polygon count for these things at a reasonable level. Anyhow, I'm going to go to Modify, Smooth, and I'm going to use level count of interactions. I have a set to 2 and strength to just 0.2, and the idea is that the strength is how much smoothing as a single interaction applied to the model. And you can also have a count of interactions, and this is like repeatedly smoothing your model again and again and again, and usually gives you a more detailed smoothing. So something like this. Man, I'm really going to have to remodel this pillar later. This doesn't look right, but yeah, for this tutorial it's going to have to do, but I'm going to completely redesign this later. Anyhow, this is a fail pillow, but let's just work with what we've got. For the final thing, I'm going to go to Layer and just copy paste that material I made earlier in my Databoard, copy paste it, and then paste it in my default shader configuration. And because I'm lazy, I'm just going to create a top-down view of for the UV map. Stretch it out a bit to get a better aspect ratio. And I'm going to go into my second level of detail. Apply the material here. Apply the UV map. Stretch it out a bit. And now I'm going to show you guys how to make the engine actually switch between the level of details. So these polygons here, they're all referenced under layer maps rendering 1. So this is your first rendering, and you can make another one if you go to layer maps, the R key for rendering, go to your second UV map, second level of detail, select the polygons, and from the box over here, create a new layer map and just go with rendering 2. And now you have it over here. Now that you have both of your levels of detail referenced, you can control the distance at which they switch. So the value over here means how far away this rendering map is going to be visible before it switches to the next. So you can have, for example, 10. And if I zoom out, maybe 10 is a bit too much, let's just use 2. If I zoom out, you can see that the mesh switches. So you can see how it sort of wobbles. And I'm going to choose a value for example 5, where the switching of the levels of detail isn't really noticeable. And there we go, now my throat is getting kind of sore, and I'm probably getting less and harder to understand, so I'm going to end this tutorial here. Going to save my pillow first though. I just figure out where my folder, models objects interior. We're going to save this as a. There we go. This is going to remind me that I have to remodel this eventually before I release the map. I'm just going to paste it down here. Now, as a final thing I want to do is that I'm going to move my pillow so that it's over the center of the model, and this is just going to make copy pasting this thing around easier. No, I don't want to say this. There we go. Rotate it, and I'm just going to copy paste this around the place. Also need to move my second level detail a bit. There we go. I'm going to copy paste this. Usually what a mesh can't make up for by looking at it, duplicating it lots of times usually hides its inferiority. So if I place this here, you know, like someone stack these to sit on them, added another one for back support. Okay, so I can add one over here as if someone was using it to sit on them. You want as if they were used as leg supports. No, something like that. And from afar it kind of looks kind of cool, but yeah, I'm still going to redo these eventually. Anyhow, I'm getting my throat is getting kind of tired, so I'm going to have to end this tutorial now. So this was SedIT, this was this week's tutorial. I'm Mischievous, and have fun with whatever you managed to learn from my tutorial and my ramblings. As always, you can check the description. All the things I did in the tutorial I'm explaining there in written word. So if you, for example, can't understand my accent, you can just go and look at the description. There's a table of contents, and everything is explained there. So hopefully that would help you guys understand my illegible ramblings. Anyhow, this is SedIT, I'm Mischievous, and happy modeling.